Welcome to the Your Brilliant Difference podcast. It is Finca here, and I'm so excited that you're here with me today. I've got a question for you. If you won a lottery, would you still go to work? Does your work give you that much joy, that much fulfillment, and that much meaning that even though all your needs and desires were met financially, would you still go to work? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today in this episode. We're going to talk about this idea of Boreout is even worse than burnout. Now, the topic of this episode was inspired by a workplace engagement webinar I did last week, where we talked about these contributing factors to workplace disengagement. Did you know that 85% of the workplace is disengaged? And one of the contributing factors is this apathetic workforce, this boredom we are experiencing in the workplace. So, in this episode, we're going to talk more about boredom and boredom at work. I'm going to talk a little bit about what boredom could be signaling to you. I want to give you this idea by a director of engineers from Yahoo that implemented this way of measuring and monitoring and managing her team's state of boredom or engagement in their work. And it could be a tool and a practice that you can use. And then finally, I'm going to give you I'm going to give you 5 things to be thinking about on how you can move forward if you're in that space of feeling bored and not engaged with your work at all at this moment. Now, if you haven't already, I want you to head on over to fincainc.com/rise slash webinar slash replay. Actually, I got that all wrong for you. I want you to head on over to fincainc.com/rise webinar replay, where you can learn more about the latest research and data on workplace engagement, plus those contributing factors, like the one we're going to do a double click on today on boredom in the workplace. But I talk about 2 more, plus I give you 5 strategies on ways that you can reignite and re-engage and really reinvigorate your leadership, your impact, and your workplace. So head on over there to download and to watch that webinar on workplace engagement. So let's talk a little bit about boredom at work. So I don't know about you, but let's go back to that question. If you were to win that lottery, would you go to work tomorrow? I bank to say most people would not. And I think that's a little bit sad. One is that we're probably not doing the work we're meant to be doing, the work that is there for us to fuel us, to energize us, and to bring us more joy and the impact that we're here to make. And so there might be a misalignment there for you. The other is life needs you. Like, we need you to make that impact. We need your brilliant difference. And so how else are you going to make it? And yes, work is one of the ways, and volunteer and community work and all those wonderful ways. But I believe that your workplace and your work and your vocation, it becomes this vocation that even though all my financial needs are met, that part of my vocation is to serve. And my way of service, it doesn't matter if I'm getting paid for it. Well, you want to get paid for it, but even when my financial needs are met, that we're still going to go out there and do our work. And that's when I think about our brilliant differences, that's the way I look at our work, that even though your financial needs are met, that you see your brilliant difference as this way in which you get to use the unique value, unique gifts that you are here to bring, but to add value, to serve, to help, to make a meaningful impact to others. And you get to do that through your work. But we don't always feel very excited or jazzed up about our work. And we feel bored, apathetic. And then eventually what can happen is it leads to depression, anxiety, stress. And eventually we might actually burn ourselves out from work because we're just not that engaged. Korn Ferry did some research, and they discovered that 1 in 3 people leave their workplace because of being bored at work. And so they might not be looking and seeing, oh, there's more potential or more possibility or career opportunity. So there's nothing to look forward to. I'm looking at what I'm doing right now, and I'm just like, this just ain't my jam anymore. And my manager's not as engaged with me and helping me navigate, the career ladder or lattice, depending on which way you look at it. And so they're like, all right, grass looks greener. Let me leap over to another organization, another team, or they might leap and say, hey, I want to go out and do my own thing and start their own small business. So that might be what they do. Remember when, like, kind of that a little bit after the post-COVID world, when we started hearing the term quiet quitting?
Shh.
Well, the latest research on quiet quitting from Gallup, uh, in 2023, 59%, they categorized 59% of the workplace as in this quiet quitting state. And I look at boredom and apathy as a key contributor that individuals aren't as engaged, they're not as stimulated, they're not being creatively invited to solve problems in their organization or actively engaged. You know, each and every one of employees and team members on a team have a unique proposition that they're bringing to the table. If they're not feeling like those skills, those strengths, those abilities are being utilized, and they're not feeling connected to the values and the purpose of that organization, and that that work has meaning, they're going to step back. They're going to just kind of lean back and do the bare minimum, do the 9 to 5, the check in, check out. And, you know, they may not raise their hand for that extra project or to go that extra mile. And so I want us as individuals in the workplace to really feel that engaged, that we are willing to work a little bit extra, push a little harder, stay a little longer, because that also means that you're getting more out of your work, and that you are invested, and not only engaged. You're invested in the outcomes, you're invested in your team, you're invested in the work that you are doing. And that matters. That so matters. Um, and so this notion of, you know, we've got this sense of quiet quitting. People are just kind of withdrawn, or kind of sitting by the sidelines and feeling that meh in their work. So let's talk a little bit about what this boredom or this apathy, what is it pointing to? What could it be signaling? One of the things it could be telling you is that, you know, maybe you are bored because its season has come to an end, that there is this time for change, and that maybe right now, as you're experiencing this state of boredom, this is an invitation from your future self to your current self, saying, hey, it's time to move, it's time to change, it's time to do something different. And maybe it's time to do that edge move, that thing that you've been you know, wanting to do, but kind of standing by the sidelines because you're afraid to, you know, take the leap or do something different. It could also mean that everything that you've learned in this moment and what this opportunity has for you, that you've learned it. You've gained the skills, you've gained the experience, you've maybe gained the connections, and now it's time for something new. And that's what this boredom moment is signaling to you, that it is time to, you know, maybe go off to greener pastures and find something new that you can do. I also look at, there's this the law of polarity, that on one side of the spectrum we've got boredom and apathy, and on the other side of the spectrum we've got excitement, enthusiasm, and just an invigorated energy in our work. And that when we're in that spectrum, and at any given time, we are either experiencing one or the other, or anything in between. And this moment that you're experiencing boredom and apathy, it's not so bad. It's just that you're getting this full experience. You've experienced the excitement and enthusiasm of a role, of a job, of a task or a project, and now you're just experiencing the complete opposite. This full experience allows you to experience it. And then when you do experience enthusiasm, excitement, and engagement in the work, you really understand how it feels and how important it is, and how much you value that experience, because you know exactly what it feels like to be on the other side of that. And so look at this as a real moment to say, oh, I'm just on this spectrum. I'm experiencing the other side of excitement, engagement, and enthusiasm. And it's just a real opportunity to just kind of notice it and start looking, saying, okay, maybe I'm not in my zone of brilliant difference. Maybe you're not doing work that you're wired to do. Maybe you're doing work that comes naturally to someone else who has a brilliant difference or a zone that they get to work in because they get to do the kind of work that you are doing. And so that's another opportunity to look at. Maybe this is one of those quests where you go internally, you do some reflection work on your brilliant difference and seeing, okay, maybe there's a misalignment here. The other thing that might be happening when you're bored at work is there might be a misalignment in values and purpose, that your values and what you value can't be practiced or exercised through the work that you're doing, that your difference or your purpose can't be actualized through the work that you're doing. And that's why you're feeling bored and not engaged and not interested in the work that you're doing. And so again, really, really important to just kind of notice what might be contributing or signaling to you that that's happening as you are in this state of boredom with your work. So I want to offer you an idea to think about. Now, there was a woman by the name of Cynthia Maxwell, and she was the director of engineering at Yahoo. And she had recruited, they were all part of this really massive building of this platform, a project, a technology based platform that she was really excited about. Her team was really excited about. And she actually also onboarded, recruited someone from her past life at Apple to join the team. And a few short months later, this team member decides that he's going to go back to Apple, and she didn't understand what was happening and why, we're working on this great project, what was happening. And so she took a moment to really start reflecting on her leadership, her impact, and her management style. She's having, one-on-one conversations. She was doing the coaching, but she couldn't understand or dig down in those, 15-minute, 1 hour coaching conversations. She really couldn't dig down to understand what was happening. What she also knew is that she was really plugged into the metrics. She was, as they were building the platform, her focus was on, scrolling speed times, crash rates. And she was, really invested in that. And so she was also kind of sensing that maybe something that she was maybe excited about. Not everyone was getting excited about the work. And so she really wanted to figure out how she could connect. And she, focused on this idea, and this idea was written by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. He wrote a book called Flow, and he's the creator. The impetus started with him with this term of flow, finding flow in our work. So she adopted his idea around flow into a graph, and she used this as a coaching tool where on the vertical axis, she had this level of difficulty, and on the horizontal axis, she had this sense of skill. And that if there was too much skill and level of difficulty was low, that a person was experiencing boredom. And if there was too little skill, but very high level of difficulty, that they would be experiencing anxiousness or frustration. That if there was low difficulty and low skill, that they would be experiencing apathy. But there was a sweet spot in the middle where there was this really great balance between a level of difficulty and level of skill. And if the person was engaged at that level, that they would find themselves in this zone of flow. And she used this as a tool to really help her understand, where were her teammates and her employees? Were they, in that right level of skill with the right amount of difficulty? And were they spending more time in their flow zone? Because when we spend time in our flow zone, we are more productive, we are more creative, we are more engaged, and we're producing better results. And so this was this opportunity where she got to use this as a tool to have dialogue, to, pinpoint, especially as very logical, data-driven engineers working with technology tools, how do we get the emotional aspect of what we are feeling, how we are connecting to our work, and using this graph, this tool to really pinpoint that. And so this is a really practical way to think about, where are you on the spectrum of difficulty with how are you being challenged, but also the skill use. And are those two factors the contributing factors to what's happening in your work? Is that why you're bored? Do you need to use different skills? Do you need to up level your skills? Do you need to increase the level of difficulty in your work, and with those modifications and adjustments, will you all of a sudden feel more engaged, be in flow, and boredom goes out the door. So, I want to give you a way forward. I want to give you some practical ways in which, if you're in this state of meh or blah and not really feeling engaged with your work and feeling that sense of apathy or bored, what could you do about it? Well, you could step into flow. The four ways that I'm going to give you on how to step in and create flow is number one, we're going to use the word F, the starting letter F. I want you to actually feel it. I want you to feel bored for a moment. We are really quick to take care of when we're bored, immediately we pick up our phones, we start scrolling. Boredom is uncomfortable. It is not a feeling that we feel jazzed up to experience, but there's such value in being present with what is happening. So don't push it away, don't ignore it, but actually be bored for a moment. Value that experience. Remember earlier when I talked about the law of polarity? You're going to only really experience excitement, enthusiasm, and engagement when you work to the degree that you allow yourself to experience the boredom, so you can feel value it when you get to the other side of that spectrum. The next is L. So FL, our next letter. L is learn something. Take this opportunity to learn something about yourself, learn something about others, learn something about the work that you're doing. What are the things that you don't get excited about doing? What are the things that you used to get excited about, but no longer are? Start learning more about your brilliant difference. And why isn't it shining? Is it because you've become more complacent? Is it because you are not challenging yourself at work? And if you were to raise your hand for that next project, that all of a sudden, even though you might be using the same skill sets, could increase the degree of difficulty and put you in that flow zone. The next is O, observe. I want you to observe your tendencies. I want you to observe what goes on for you when you are feeling bored. Is there the reach to make it go away? Do we reach for the phone? Do we scroll? Do we distract ourselves with other projects or ideas? Do you go to the water cooler, maybe on Slack, and maybe we start the gossip train? But notice your tendencies. What is happening? Because oftentimes, when we are in those bored states, we could be picking up on dysfunctional behaviors or things that aren't helping us get to the outcome, to that better result of getting in flow state, being energized and excited about work. And then finally, W. I want you to wonder. I want you to be very curious. I want you to wonder, what is up? What's next for you? How could you use this moment of boredom, apathy, meh, this feeling of like, I don't feel jazzed about anything, but really stand in this moment of curiosity and say to yourself, I wonder what is available to me here today. I wonder why I'm bored. I wonder what door is waiting to open for me if I just sit here for a little longer and not escape by distracting myself with something else. And so to get into flow, I want you to, number one, F, feel the feeling and the experience of boredom. It's not comfortable, but you will, one, thank me later, but you will then understand how to experience the full spectrum of the, going from boredom to enthusiasm to that excitement. But we got to be really present with where we are right now in order to figure out where do we want to go. Number two, you're going to learn something about yourself. You're going to learn something about your brilliant difference. This moment that you're in, that is in this really blah state, is teaching you something. How can you take something out of it? You're going to observe. You're going to notice, what are your tendencies, what are your go-to's when you're feeling bored, and just observe and just pay attention. You don't have to change anything yet. Just, is this functional? Is this helping me, or is this dysfunctional, and is this making me go the other way? And then finally, you're going to sit in the state of wonder and curiosity, and you're going to be really open to the idea that there might be something different. There's something waiting for you beyond this state of boredom. So I hope you got lots out of this episode where we talked about the latest, research on boredom and how it could be worse than burnout. So really paying attention to that, the things that boredom could be signaling to you. That wonderful story from Cynthia Maxwell that she practiced, that tool. And we're going to link to the article that says more about what she did in her workplace to re-engage and reinvigorate her team with this state of flow. And then finally, the 4 ways for you to create more flow, which is the 5th way. Feel it, learn from it, observe it, and sit in that state of wonder. So if you haven't yet, head on over to fincainc.com/rise hyphen webinar hyphen replay to check out that workplace engagement webinar that I did last week. So you can learn more about the other two areas that we talked about that are currently contributing to workplace disengagement, but also the strategies to help you move forward. So thank you so much for tuning in as we help you rise up and bring your best selves and your brilliant difference to your work and to your leadership so you can have the impact and value you are here to make. Bye for now, and we'll catch you next time.